The Midnight Pupil, a deep dive into the Great Blue Hole. Introduction: The Eye of the Caribbean. From 10,000 feet in the air, the coast of Belize looks like a fragmented tapestry of turquoise silk and ivory sand. But as you fly over the Lighthouse Reef, about 60 miles from the mainland, the pattern is suddenly interrupted. It is as if someone has taken a massive divine hole puncher to the ocean floor. There, amidst the shallow, pale waters of the reef, lies a perfect circle of indigo, a midnight blue pupil staring back at the heavens. This is the Great Blue Hole. It is over 1,000 feet across and plunges more than 400 feet into the earth. It is a geological anomaly so striking that it has captured the human imagination for centuries. To the ancient Maya, it was a gateway to Xibalba, the underworld. To modern scientists, it is a time capsule of the planet's climate history. To the legendary Jacques Cousteau, who brought it to global fame in 1971, it was one of the top 5 diving sites in the entire world. But why is it there? Why is it a perfect circle? And what lies at the bottom, where the light of the sun has not touched the silt in 10,000 years? In this comprehensive audio exploration, we are going to dive past the surface beauty. We will explore the frozen history of its birth, the harrowing expeditions of the world's most famous explorers, the strange dead zone at its base, and the shocking secrets it holds about the rise and fall of civilizations. This isn't just a story about a hole in the ground. It's a story about the terrifying, beautiful power of our changing planet. Chapter 1. The Architect of Ice, the Birth of a Vertical Abyss. To understand the Great Blue Hole, we have to travel back in time, not just centuries, but hundreds of thousands of years. We have to go back to the Pleistocene epoch, the Great Ice Age. At this time, the world looked very different. So much of the Earth's water was locked up in massive glaciers that the global sea level was more than 300 feet lower than it is today. What we now call the Great Blue Hole was not a hole at all. It was a dry limestone cave system on a peninsula. Over millennia, rainwater, which is slightly acidic, seeped through the limestone. This process, known as chemical weathering, slowly ate away at the rock, carving out massive underground cathedrals. Throughout 4 separate glacial periods, the cave grew. It developed massive stalactites and stalagmites, stone icicles formed by the slow drip of mineral-rich water. These formations are crucial because they can only grow in dry air. The fact that they exist deep underwater today is the primary evidence that this was once a terrestrial cave. Then came the Great Thaw. As the Ice Age ended and the glaciers melted, the sea levels began to rise. The Caribbean Sea crept closer and closer to the cave system. Eventually, the water pressure and the rising tides became too much for the cave ceiling to handle. In a cataclysmic geological event, the roof of the cavern collapsed, creating a massive vertical sinkhole. Geologists call this a cenote, or a collapsed dawline. When the ocean finally flooded the basin, it created the striking visual contrast we see today. The shallow reef around the hole reflects the light off the white sand, creating the turquoise hue, while the sheer depth of the hole absorbs all light except for the dark blue spectrum. This chapter explores the karst topography of Belize. We look at how the Great Blue Hole is actually part of a much larger system of caves that honeycombs the entire region. It is a monument to the power of water, both as a slow carver of rock and a sudden, world-altering force. When you look into the Blue Hole, you aren't just looking at the ocean. You are looking at the ghost of a world that existed before the ice melted. Chapter 2. The Calypso's Call. Jacques Cousteau and the Age of Discovery. For centuries, the Great Blue Hole was known only to local fishermen and the occasional brave sailor. They called it the Blue Hole, a place to be avoided because of the strange currents and the massive sharks that patrolled its rim. But in 1971, a ship named the Calypso arrived, and everything changed. Jacques-Yves Cousteau, the man who co-invented the scuba regulator and brought the wonders of the silent world to television screens, was fascinated by the reports of a massive sinkhole in Belize. He brought a team of divers, engineers, and scientists to Lighthouse Reef to conduct the first ever systematic exploration of the abyss. The Calypso expedition was a feat of 1970s engineering. Cousteau used small submersibles to navigate the narrow passages. As his divers descended, they were shocked by what they found at 110 feet. There, hanging from the ceiling of a massive recessed gallery, were stalactites over 40 feet long. Some of them were tilted at an angle, proving that the Earth itself had shifted during the cave's long history. Cousteau's team was the first to map the hourglass shape of the hole. It isn't a straight cylinder, it widens as you go down, creating massive overhangs that are as haunting as they are beautiful. This expedition turned the blue hole into a global icon. It became a rite of passage for every serious diver on the planet. However, Cousteau's visit also revealed the dangers. The depth of the blue hole makes it a treacherous place. Divers often suffer from nitrogen narcosis, a state of confusion caused by breathing compressed air at high pressures. The rapture of the deep can make divers forget their training or descend too far without realizing it. In this chapter, we recreate the tension of that 1971 expedition. We feel the darkness pressing in as the Calypso divers moved past the light zone and into the shadows of the stalactites. Cousteau didn't just find a dive site, he found a museum of natural history, a place where time had been frozen in stone.
Chapter 3. The Silent Inhabitants, Life and Death in the Oxygen-Free Zone. If you dive the rim of the Great Blue Hole, you will see a riot of life. Caribbean reef sharks cruise the edges, while schools of midnight parrotfish and neon-colored gobies dart among the coral. But as you descend past the 300-foot mark, the world changes. The Great Blue Hole is what scientists call a meromictic body of water. Because it is so deep and sheltered from the wind by the surrounding reef, the layers of water do not mix. The top layer is warm, oxygen-rich Caribbean water. But as you go deeper, you hit the thermocline, a sharp drop in temperature, and more importantly, the chemocline. At around 290 feet, there is a thick, shimmering layer of hydrogen sulfide. To a diver, it looks like a cloud of toxic fog or a false bottom. This layer is created by decaying organic matter that has fallen into the hole over centuries. Below this cloud, there is no oxygen. It is an anoxic environment. In this deep, dark zone, nothing that breathes can survive. But life, as it always does, has found a way. This layer is home to colonies of purple sulfur bacteria that eat the hydrogen sulfide. Below them, in the absolute darkness, the water is perfectly still and crystal clear. There are no fish, no coral, no movement. It is a conch graveyard. Thousands of conchs have accidentally fallen over the edge of the hole over the years. Once they hit the anoxic layer, they suffocate. Their shells remain at the bottom, perfectly preserved in the breathless water, a macabre monument to the hole's hunger. This chapter explores the biology of the abyss. We look at the apex predators of the rim versus the microbial masters of the depths. We discuss the eerie experience of diving into the hydrogen sulfide cloud, a place where your skin begins to itch and the world turns a sickly yellow-green. The blue hole is a reminder that life on Earth is defined by the presence and absence of oxygen. Chapter 4. The Silt of History, the Maya and the hole's secret record. While the blue hole is a marvel of geology and biology, its most profound secret might be historical. In recent years, scientists have discovered that the silt at the bottom of the hole acts as a hard drive for the history of the Western Hemisphere. Because the water at the bottom is so still and lacks oxygen, the sediment that settles there remains undisturbed for thousands of years. By taking core samples of this mud, researchers can analyze the chemical composition of the layers. Specifically, they look at the ratio of titanium to iron. When heavy tropical storms and hurricanes hit the region, they wash titanium-rich volcanic soil from the Belizean mainland into the ocean. These pulses of titanium are recorded in the silt. By studying these layers, scientists from Rice University and Louisiana State University were able to reconstruct a timeline of the region's climate going back over 2,000 years. What they found was shocking. The layers showed that between the years 800 and 1000 AD, there was a massive decrease in the number of tropical cyclones, a period of extreme, multi-decade drought. This is the exact period when the classic Maya civilization collapsed. The Maya, who lived just a few dozen miles away from the reef, relied on seasonal rains for their complex agriculture and massive cities. The blue hole record provides the strongest evidence yet that a shift in climate, specifically a lack of rain recorded in the silt, was a primary driver in the downfall of one of history's greatest empires. In this chapter, we bridge the gap between the ocean and the jungle. We see how a vertical hole in the sea can explain the abandonment of massive stone pyramids on land. The Great Blue Hole isn't just a diver's paradise, it's a witness to the frailty of human civilization in the face of nature's cycles. Chapter 5. The 2018 Revelation, What Richard Branson Found at the Bottom.
In December 2018, the world watched as a new generation of explorers prepared to go deeper than anyone before. This expedition, titled Blue Hole into the Abyss, featured billionaire Richard Branson, Fabien Cousteau, grandson of Jacques, and a team of professional oceanographers using state-of-the-art submersibles. Their goal was to create the first ever 3D sonar map of the entire hole and to reach the very bottom to see what had accumulated over the last few decades. The findings were a mix of wonder and tragedy. They discovered sea stalactites, a phenomenon where the mineral-rich water at the bottom creates strange, organic-looking pillars. They found the conch graveyard in high definition, but they also found the footprint of man. Even in a place as remote and deep as the bottom of the Great Blue Hole, the explorers found plastic waste. A 2-liter soda bottle and a GoPro camera were spotted resting in the silt, thousands of years away from the light. It was a sobering reminder that there is no corner of the planet untouched by human activity. More mysteriously, they found 2 bodies. These were divers who had gone missing years prior, lost to the depths and preserved by the anoxic water. In a show of respect, the expedition chose not to film them or retrieve them, allowing the Blue Hole to keep its permanent residence. This final chapter looks at the future of the Great Blue Hole. As the climate changes once again and sea levels continue to rise, how will this anomaly change? We discuss the ongoing efforts to protect the Belize Barrier Reef, the second largest reef system in the world, and why the Blue Hole remains a vital indicator for the health of our oceans. The Great Blue Hole is nature's masterpiece. It is a story of ice, rock, water, and human curiosity. It reminds us that there are still places on our own planet that feel as alien as the surface of Mars. Outro. Respecting the abyss. We have reached the end of our journey into the Great Blue Hole of Belize. From its violent birth during the Ice Age to the silent graveyards at its base, the Blue Hole remains a profound mystery. It is a portal into the past, a record of the fallen, and a warning for the future. Whether you are a diver looking for the thrill of a lifetime or a scientist looking for the keys to our history, the Midnight Pupil has something to teach you. The Blue Hole reminds us that we are just temporary visitors to this planet. The limestone stood before we arrived, and the tides will continue to wash over the reef long after we are gone. Our task is to explore it with respect, to protect its fragile beauty, and to listen to the stories it tells through the silt and the stone. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the mysteries of our planet, if you want to discover more about the world's most incredible geological and historical anomalies, please like this content and subscribe to the channel. Your support allows us to keep bringing the wonders of the silent world to your ears. What's the one place on Earth that fascinates you the most? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for listening, and until next time, keep exploring.